page where it's
All right,
uh,
one second. We're
15
about to
minutes
go
long.
live here. Just 1 second.
Okay.
So this is your fast life. We're getting ready to go live. I don't know if this is actually live yet. In the past, it has said starting, and it actually started already. So that's why I'm actually talking, even though I don't. Okay, now it's officially telling me that we're live. So you're watching your Fast Life Motorcycle channel, and I just finally wised up and realized, why are you wearing other people's shirts? I was advertising San Francisco for days now, and I was advertising what else did I have on? I had some other shirt on, the Rock Store. Like, why aren't you branding your own channel in your own videos? Um, by the way, do you have a link to the actual video, the feed that we're watching right now, sir?
Actually, I have the link that you sent me on Skype.
All right, so let's actually do that experiment. So for those of you just joining in, so I have a special agent on the line with us. We'll refer to him as Tango, and we want to do an analysis of the video, and I have some extended video that we can look at that's going to show you more of what happened. We also have the official police report as well, which we'll be going over that. So we're going to cover. I'm going to let you know some of the questions we want to cover. Here's the location of the shooting, brought to you via Google, so we can look at it in 3D as if we're actually there. Here's the police report, which you can go through. But one of the issues that we have here. Oh, by the way, did you get the Tango? Do you have the link to the? I didn't send that to you. I'm sorry. So here's the link to the actual stream. I want you to click on that
Mhm.
link that I just sent you to the stream, and we want to do a test to see if there's any kind of lag on this video.
Okay.
So you just have to make sure you turn the volume off on that. Just click on the speaker icon so you don't get an echo of my voice on that video. So once you have the stream visible, you should be able to see the police report in the background, and then you should see a little video window on top of that I'm moving around.
Actually, I see. Yes. Okay. I see you moving the video around. Yes, I did.
Okay, so I'm gonna play this video back, and what we're doing right now is we're talking in real time, but I want to see if you're seeing the video at the same time. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the video right now. Do you see the
Okay.
video playing?
Actually, it hadn't started playing yet on my end. There is a lag because I see your mouth moving, but there's
Oh wow, okay.
yeah. But
The video is still not playing?
all right, it just started.
Okay, so there is a
All
delay. All right, so that's no problem. We just have to keep that in mind. Um, so what we will do is we're gonna go ahead. So I guess when I play the video back, it's gonna take you a little bit longer to see the complete video. So I'll just wait for you to complete watching it. All right, guys. So we're gonna start with the actual video itself that we have of the actual incident, and then we're going to do an analysis. But before we do that, I just wanted to let you guys know some of the things that we want to tackle in this particular call. So let's look at some of our objectives. So at 48 seconds, there is a noise that seems to be in my mind, the most important part of this incident, because, and I'm basing that on right after you hear that noise and right after you see a flash is when kind of, all hell breaks loose type of scenario, because, that's when I see Aguilar trying to get up, and then the officers are trying to get a control, and then the next thing you know, he shoots his partner, and then they shoot Aguilar. But before that, I don't see anything going on. I just see two officers that are on top of a guy trying to handcuff him or whatever. So I want to find out what exactly happened at 48 seconds. What was the noise? What occurred? We want to also find out why would an armed, because the statements being made is that Aguilar had a gun. So why would an armed suspect try to take the gun of the cops? If he already has a gun, why would he want to take the cop's gun, right? Usually when a suspect tries to take a cop gun is because he wants to use that gun against a cop. But if he already has a gun, why would he be taking it? So that's a question we want to address. Why was the press told that he shot the cops, or were they told? Let's examine that. If they were told that Aguilar shot the cops, why was that the case? And maybe they weren't even told that, but we want to examine what exactly was told to the media. And and when we are now told so the cop definitely shot his partner. So why let's not make any assumptions here. Why was it that the public was led to believe, whether it's the media did it or the police did it, or the public did it to themselves? Why was this idea spread around that Aguilar shot a cop when it was a cop that shot his partner? What was that about? Why would an armed suspect who is prepared to kill a cop, in theory, right? Because if they were afraid for their lives, the idea is that he was prepared to kill this cop. He was going to go and try and kill the officer. So why would an armed suspect who was prepared to kill a police officer run without firing a shot and then later try to use the cop's gun? So you have a gun and you're prepared. You're that kind of a criminal. You're gonna you're prepared to kill a cop, and they're chasing you, and you don't fire any shots. You don't do anything with this gun, and then you get in a fight with them, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I want to kill this officer, but I'm gonna try to use their gun rather than mine. Now the theory could be maybe he had lost. They took his gun from him or it fell, but whatever. We want to find out why that is, because that's a little bit strange to me. Also, did he actually try to remove the gun? That's the claim that the officers are making, that he tried to remove the police officer's gun. Is that in fact the case? Was there a gun planted? It looks like he had put down a gun. One of the officers had placed a gun next to Aguilar, so we could assume that was supposedly Aguilar's gun. Some people think that the police officers were planting a gun, which would be, that would be really bad, but that wouldn't be the first time this kind of thing has happened. And coincidentally, I've done the research. Unfortunately, even though my experience in Los Angeles has been positive, so LAPD, I love you guys, especially the guys on Mulholland Drive. You guys are so awesome. The main thing that the concern is to me, from my interaction with the police there, is safety, which is usually, people think of officers that they're revenue generation and stuff like that, but the officers there, from my interaction, I know this is anecdotal, they're really cool with us bikers. It's just, they don't want you crossing the line and stuff like that. But anyway, was there? But the bottom line is, I got sidetracked. The bottom line is, LAPD does have a very bad reputation. I did the research, and they're one of the most corrupt police departments in the country. I'm not saying they are the. I don't know if they are or not, but they're definitely one of the. If you look at police corruption throughout the country, definitely Los Angeles is high on the list. So the idea of a police officer there planting a gun, not so strange of an idea. However, we don't know if that's the case. We're going to examine that. Why officer asked if he had a gun while he was putting that gun down? So there's a part of the video where the officer says, do you have a gun? And at the same time, he's putting down this mysterious gun next to Aguilar. So why is he asking him if he has a gun when he has a gun already that he's placing down, and it's not his own firearm? So that's kind of strange. It's like, if that's Aguilar's gun, then he already has the gun. So why is he asking if he has the gun? Is he asking if you have another gun? Did he think he had two guns? That's kind of bizarre. A guy riding a bicycle with two guns. I mean, that's. I think even for a gangster, I don't know. That's just kind of bizarre. Anyway, these are the questions we want to address. But we're gonna first of all start with watching the video. Now, if you guys have questions, you need to go ahead and ask those questions right now in the chat room, so we can look at those questions later on. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start watching the video here. Just be mindful that Tango is looking at this actually with you guys. Tango is on the same plane with you guys in terms of he's seeing what you guys are seeing. It's only that me and him are talking in real time. So you guys can't actually hear what we're saying right now yet. I know it's kind of weird, but what we're saying right now, we actually said about 10 or 20 seconds ago. But whatever you're seeing is what he's seeing at the same time. Never mind the time paradox. Let's just play the video. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start from. And before I actually start the video, I want to let you guys know, because context is very important. According to the police report, this is what you're seeing. Because you can look at the video, but what happened before the video, right? So, whoa. Okay, we just lost Tango. I assume he's gonna call back. Okay, hang on 1 second. We have a little bit of a technical difficulty. I apologize for that. Just bear with me 1 moment. Okay. Hello? 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 I can't hear anything. I apologize for this, guys. I guess the last hangout was too smooth. We didn't have any issues on the last one. We got a call drop, and now he called me back, but I couldn't hear anything. So in the meantime, while he calls back, let me let you guys know the context of the situation here. So Ruiz was driving the patrol car and followed Aguilar eastbound on East 69 Way. Ruiz tried to cut Aguilar off at an alleyway just east of Long Beach Boulevard. Aguilar jumped off his bike and ran northbound across East 69th Way into an apartment complex. Ruiz and Murad, those are the two officers, exited the patrol car and pursued Aguilar. So one of the things we want to address is why exactly were they pursuing him in the first place? It supposedly said it was because he was wearing headphones, but notice in the police report, I don't really see that. Now, I'm not saying it's not here. I don't have this entire report memorized, but as you can see, the officer themselves, while they're, Ruiz, Deputy Ruiz, his own statements, he doesn't mention anything about headphones. He says, yeah, he doesn't say any reason. He doesn't say, I saw this guy speeding or he was doing whatever or whatever. It just simply says they saw him and he went down the alley. And so Ruiz ran down the alley intending to head Aguilar off. As expected, Aguilar entered the alleyway and looked at Ruiz, who was armed with his department-issued service weapon. Ruiz ordered Aguilar to stop and show your hands. Aguilar ignored Ruiz commands and ran northbound through the alley. Murad entered the alley and both deputies pursued Aguilar. I'm hoping that Tango calls us back here before I'm done reading this. Murad caught Aguilar and tackled him. Aguilar fell face first to the ground. So Murad caught Aguilar and tackled him. Aguilar fell face first to the ground. Both of his hands were underneath him near his waist. Murad was laying on Aguilar's back. Ruiz came from behind, and both deputies tried to pull Aguilar's hands from underneath him. So supposedly Aguilar's on the ground. He's got both of his hands underneath him. Both deputies ordered Aguilar to give me your arm. So this is about where the video begins. So we're going to go ahead and begin the video, but we got to figure out what happened to so he cannot hear me. Let's see. Okay, so I'm trying to get the officer to call back again. So this is where the video begins. In this alleyway here, somewhere around here. It could very well be right here. You see that gate? That gate I recognize from being in the video. Hello?
Back.
Okay, looks like we got sound this time. So so I just basically read the police report. I don't know if you heard any of that, but basically they saw Aguilar. The officer saw Aguilar from their car riding his bike, and even though it's spread in the media, this whole thing about the headphones, he had headphones on while riding the bike. First of all, I want to know, is that even a crime? I know riding a motorcycle with headphones in certain jurisdictions is a violation of some sort where you could get a summons for it, but I don't know the law in this area. I find that strange that sounds like a weird law that you can't ride a bicycle with headphones on. But regardless, we're looking at the actual police report, and you as an officer, you tell me, wouldn't a critical part of your statement towards an incident like this be your probable cause for why you were even messing with this guy in the first place? Like, wouldn't that be a critical piece to start with? I would think, right?
Exactly. The thing is, when law enforcement crosses paths with a civilian, both good and bad, you have to have reasonable suspicion, probable cause. Okay, probable cause probably came from the headphones on the bike. Okay, so
So to not
now you
mention
got
that in your
probable.
report.
So, and in the court of law, if it's not in the report, it didn't happen, which is both good and a bad thing.
Let me see. So I got one of my subscribers, Tahoe 339 from Albuquerque, LAPD, along with APD here in Albuquerque. Oh, on a side note, while we wait for the 2016 NZX-10R, arrived in Hawaii. Oh, nice. Oh, by the way, just since this is a motorcycle channel, do you ride a motorcycle?
Actually, I just bought a 2015 about a month ago.
A 2015?
Kawasaki ZX11.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Z1000.
Oh, we have a Z1000 rider here. By the way, the subscriber who's actually in the chat room right now, he's another Team Green guy. He loves Kawasaki. He has a Ninja H2. He's an awesome guy. I'm probably going to be checking him out pretty soon. We're going to be going down to his area. But let's get right into the video here. So we're going to go ahead and play the video. And again, you're not going to see the video start until about 20 seconds or so, but I'm going to go ahead and start the video off at this point. So they saw him, he tried to run away, they tackled him to the ground. This guy heard the noise, started recording the video, and this is what he saw. I think we started too early. Let me back that up a little bit because I want you, it's very important that you see the beginning of this before you actually start struggling. So actually, I apologize for that. So here's the beginning of the video. I apologize.
It's a gun. You fucking move, I'm gonna kill you, bitch.
So the officer just shot his partner. And by the way, the story was reported to the media a year ago as that Aguilar had shot the officer. And supposedly the officer thought that Aguilar had shot him, and that kind of was the reasoning behind his actions in terms of firing at Aguilar. That's what supposedly was said.
Now, one thing that what I'm looking at is that there's a hand on by the officers, the officer by the front or the top of Aguilar.
What time are you looking at?
Actually, this is roughly say about T minus, because right now it's, I guess it's frozen for to get a look at it. So right as Aguilar is attempting to get to his knees after the shot.
Okay, so let me back up to that portion. So let's see.
Aguilar's back is to the fence. There's an officer to Aguilar's left, and then there's one that seems to be by his head. All right. See the officer by his head. There's a hand there. I'm not sure if that's Aguilar's hand on his back, or is that the officer's. Is that the officer on the left hand? Looks like the officer on the left, his hand is wrapped under Aguilar.
You're saying his left hand looks like it's under Aguilar?
Yeah, you see the officer on the left?
Yeah.
I'm not clear if his hand is under Aguilar or if that's his hand on the officer by the head, on the right back. You see, right? Just as Aguilar's about to stroll. But even whoever's hand it is, there's no gun in it.
Well,
there's no gun in it.
Well, let's go through this piece. Yeah.
What's puzzling me is this. All right, most officers have at least what's called a double retention holster. Most carry triple retention. All right. So that means you have to do 3 steps, two steps to remove the weapon from the holster. That you would have to be real good, or they also have to be really not paying attention to go through 2 or 3 steps to get that weapon out of there. Now, say he had a weapon hidden somewhere. So that means basically the officer wasn't watching his hands, which he should be if you're going to handcuff this guy. Now, I want to say that I'm not bashing these guys, but I will go on record and say, to me, it's sloppy work. It's sloppy work.
Let's go back to what we talked about earlier with the statements that were made, which did not show up in the police report, where he says, "If you move, I'm gonna kill you, bitch."
Exactly. So now you've already set the tone for this encounter with this citizen. Good or bad, you've already set the tone.
And here's the thing. I want you, because this is something that I've been saying before, and I don't have the training. I mean, my training is specific to the military, which is a little bit different. And that's where my school of thought comes from, in terms of I learned about the commanding tone and things like that. And what I found is that the public doesn't seem to realize that there's a middle ground. It's like either you're vulgar and talk like a thug, or you're gonna be like, "Sir, please, if you don't mind, I would like it if you could." And it's like, are you serious? You mean to tell me you can't figure a way to be commanding and authoritative without being so passive? Like that's the only option, thug or passive? So you as the officer, you tell me how it works.
There has to be that middle ground. And again, we spoke earlier about what we use is verbal judo. All right, now, again, obviously it was a felony stop, okay, because there was a weapon involved, allegedly. Okay, that's why you put people on the ground. It's a felony stop. Okay, but going back to the question, there is something called verbal judo, which basically you give these guys opportunity to comply. Okay, now there's no set rule where you say, you give them 3 chances, you give them this. No. Hey, look, excuse me, or whatever. You have to make it clear what you're there for. I'm police officer, halt. Police officer, stop. Put your hands up. All right, the reason why I'm stopping you is this. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? You have 4 sets of eyes. I mean, not 4 sets. You have 4 eyes there. You have 4 eyes. Somebody should be watching. Somebody should see something. Because, again, whether you like it or not, when you are a police officer, That's your profession. Unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately, but the law expects you to be on your A game all the time. If you encounter a suspect or a citizen, he or she is in your total control. You are responsible for them. Cut and dry. Cut and dry. So, again, say he has a weapon. Okay, get him on the ground, you handcuff him, and then you remove the weapon. That's it. You can't tell nobody, once you got him handcuffed, don't move, because then there's other scientific factors here. Positional asphyxiation. Because the way we're built, you have somebody on the ground, chest down, and you have roughly about 400 pounds on top of you, you're not going to be breathing. So yes, he is going to move. That's natural. So
I'm glad you brought that up.
You can put, yes, you can. I mean, and again, you don't have to believe it. Try it. Lay on the ground, have somebody hold your hands behind your back, and have somebody lay on top of you. You're not going to breathe, not properly. It's called positional asphyxiation. A lot of people have died from that. Okay? So you can't say, don't move on and kill you, bitch. Hey, I can't breathe. I need to get air. Then a shot goes off, everybody panics.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How if you were that officer and you're dealing with this suspect and you honestly believe that your life is being threatened. You see him with a gun or something and he might try to use it on you or your partner. Could you demonstrate to me verbally how you would and hey, I'm gonna say straight up, because I know people can say that, hindsight is 2020. So we understand that it's one thing for you to say something now versus to be in the actual situation where adrenaline's running. But there's also something called training, where like in the military, we train for things so much that in the panic of warfare, we're expected to do what we're trained to do. It's like everything is memorized to just, you don't even think, you just do what your training is. So with that in mind, what are your verbal commands to this guy that you think is about to potentially pull a gun out or something?
Well, if he's if his gunplay about to happen, all right, say the suspect is known to carry guns on him. Before I make that approach, for one, I'm going to draw my weapon and I'm going to take cover. Then I'm going to give verbal commands. Okay? Say he keeps going, he don't want to stop. Well, I'm not going to shoot him unless he has a gun in his hand and he's going to shoot at me. Okay? Hey, police officer, put your hands up. That's it. That's giving him a chance to basically assess the situation. Okay, if I have a gun, yes, I'm going to put my hands up because that's what he wants. Okay? Don't look at me, just lay on the ground.
And what if he ignores you?
Up. Okay, if he ignores me. Okay, well, again, I'm not going to shoot him unless he starts shooting at me. Unfortunately, that's the way law enforcement is. Sorry. You got to be, it has to be based on the actions of the citizen. Okay, so say he keeps his hands up, or say he puts them down and he walks away. Well, guess what? I'm calling back up, and I'm going to keep eyes on him as long as possible. I'm going to give positions, I'm going to give directions, everything. Call out everybody, all available units. All right? Once he starts, and again, use cover available. All right? Once he's subdued with enough officers, okay, now we can do business. But before you do that, you can't rush into stuff. You can't rush into it. He's riding the bike. He's not stealing cars or nothing. Okay? Now, again, unless somebody's life is in danger, unless he's going to shoot somebody else or whatever, there's a lot of different factors, a lot of different spins you can put on it. Obviously, he called backup. Okay? But initially, what I would have done, hey, taking cover, hey, police, threw my weapon, hey, police officer, get out on the ground right now. You on a bicycle, get on the ground. Okay? He keeps walking, he keeps riding. Hey, whether I like it or not, that guy's a citizen. You know doggone well, when you become a police officer, you know the dangers. You know the dangers. You know, you should know what the law says you can do and what you can't do. All right? Based on your training, your policies, the law, case law, you know, based on the situation, hey, you have guidelines to fall into. You know, and I'm not telling you what, you know, what I've read. This is stuff that I've done. This is stuff that I've done. You take cover, issue commands.
So let's look at a particular part of this video where, like you mentioned before, there was that sound. First of all, what is your assessment on what that sound is? Because it you know, if it's a gunshot, it certainly sounds like a very different caliber of gun than the later ones, because the other ones, the sound is very, very different. We hear the sound, we see like a flash behind like the tail light of the car, and then everything goes out of control. What do you think is happening? What is that sound? What is that flash?
Well, one thing is, especially when you're in close quarters with any pistol, unless it's like a 22 or something. But usually, I guess they're carrying 9s or 40s. When it goes off that close to your head, pretty much it all sounds the same. You know, that shot or that sound, obviously nobody jumped. The officers, nobody jumped. So who was paying attention? Aguilar's not screaming that loud. The radio is not that loud. So that sound could have been anything, you know. It could have been anything. But I see, Officer 2, his firearm, he picks it up off the ground. And I know it's not in the holster. That much I can tell you. I know it's not in the holster. And Aguilar is saying, I didn't shoot nobody. Okay, I see what's happening. Aguilar is grabbing onto the fence.
Oh, is he?
Aguilar is grabbing onto the fence. Yeah, you can see it. Right before you see, right when it says I've been shot. Aguilar tried to grab the fence to try and get up. All right? Now, Mr. Aguilar, I don't have any. I guess he's saying I don't have any guns.
Oh, look at this. I can see his right arm. I just spotted it at 38 seconds. I can see his right arm is on the ground. It's open and it's empty. There's nothing in his right hand. The officer just grabbed his right hand and put it behind his back right after that.
Exactly. So, you know.
And this is before any shots went off. Well,
yeah.
Before the officer was hit anyway. Wow. Okay, so now I'm seeing how the whole thing works. So this point, and I'm looking at 40 seconds, is before things went crazy. So he's on the ground, his feet aren't really moving. I see his open right arm on the ground. The officer picks up the right arm, puts it behind his back. Then you hear the noise, you see the flash, And then that's when Aguilar starts moving around. The officer starts struggling. She starts kicking his butt up in the air. So basically, he's trying to stand up. But I still
Yeah.
don't know what that noise is and what exactly happened. Clearly, something happened there.
And, well, I guess my main focus is to make sure Aguilar didn't shoot. Because again, I wasn't there. I don't know where that shot came from. My main focus was, and I'm not sticking up for Aguilar. It's all about being fair. It wasn't Aguilar.
Oh,
All right.
I think I see what you're talking about. Wow.
Yeah.
He has his
Yeah.
arm on the fence after he gets up.
Yes.
So his hands
Yes.
is empty.
Now, it could be this, and I'm trying to put myself in Aguilar's mind here. Oh snap! He has a gun unholstered, or there's a gun on the ground. It's about to be over. Now, I don't care if he robbed 8 banks. I don't care if he killed a whole city of people. Everybody has a right to fight for their life. I ain't saying they have the right to kill people, but it's just natural reaction to fight for your life. Kind of see what I'm going at?
Yeah.
Now, he knows he's about to get it. And I'm sure he don't want to die on the street like that, but, if you listen to him, he's saying, something like, I didn't shoot nobody, I don't have anything, I don't know where that sound came from, but it wasn't me. That's basically what he's saying. Oh, I'm talking in his mind, should I say. It's not me. I heard the sound too. Don't shoot me. I got to get the heck out of here. But again, 2-on-1, handcuffed. 2-on-1, handcuffed. You don't tell me that these beefy guys can't handle this one guy.
Well, here's the additional thing that was made in the police statement. So because you could look at this and if I'm biased, like some people think that I am, and I just want to be against the cops, and what I'll say is, the gun was on the ground already. Why did they shoot him when they already had his gun on the ground? He didn't have a weapon anymore, clearly. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to examine what the police officer's claims are, which is that he was trying to grab the officer's gun. So if that's the case, then he still becomes a threat. So, but to examine that, I want to look at, did he have a free arm to grab the gun? And also, can we confirm that he did in fact try to grab the gun? I mean, you could easily say that up and make it as a lie. So I want to examine that statement in terms of, did he have a free hand and did he actually grab the gun?
Okay, but check it out. The officer to the left of the screen. You see his gun most of the time. You see his weapon most of the time. At what point did Aguilar remove the other officer's weapon?
You're right. The guns are both facing the camera. Both of the officers' guns are facing us.
Exactly.
So we would see his hands.
At what point did, for one, a guy on the ground, or say he did it standing up. Say he did it standing up. What were you doing, or what were you neglecting to do where he got the gun out of the holster? See, again,
wow.
the court looks at this stuff. If he's that bad of a felon, or if he's that bad of a criminal, you weren't paying attention to him. It was just a regular old conversation, and then things just went bad. Okay, guns on the ground. Okay, now you got Aguilar on the ground. Okay. Officer on the left of the screen has control of, let's just say he has control of what would be Aguilar's left hand. Right hand, again, for the sake of argument, hadn't been cuffed yet. Even if it's not cuffed, where's the gun? Because the officer on the left is looking at his hand to handcuff Aguilar. So where's this gun Aguilar supposed to have? Well, why is the gun right by the tire? Why is a gun? Which I'm willing to bet if they're also on the right hand of the screen, I'll bet you it's his gun. Why is it by the tire? Okay, another fact. Okay, so you got Aguilar subdued. You pick your weapon up off the ground. Why do you put it to his head? What's your intent? You can't go around putting your weapon to somebody's head and threatening them. If it's out, put it back in the holster.
How difficult is it to handcuff a suspect who doesn't want to be handcuffed?
Okay, now, if you wiggle enough, I don't care what size you are, if you wiggle around enough, you are very difficult to handcuff.
Even a small
You are
guy.
very difficult. Yes. And actually, small guys are the worst once they get to wiggling to try to handcuff.
Oh man. Okay. What would it take, knowing with your training on tactics, what would it take for a small person who is moving around because of pain to be in a situation where it becomes really difficult to handcuff them? Not because they're struggling, but just because of they're in pain and they're moving around or something. Is that a probable thing?
Well, two things, only two, well, I won't say only, but I was always taught pain makes you do two things. You're going to pass out when it's too much, or if it's too much, you're going to fight like hell. And that's the only two things that I've ever encountered. All right? But again, the thing is, you have other options. Other options. There's something in law enforcement called the force continuum. Okay, and it's basically steps that, based on the subject, is what you're allowed to do as far as use of force. So, Aguilar's hands are empty. I think we both can agree on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so why is he dead? Why is he shot, 5, 6 times? Why? It's clear your partner, which is the guy on the left hand of the screen, has his hand. So you know there's no gun there. So why is this guy dead?
Let me ask you this: if I were and we're not making any assumptions here. I'm just asking this. If I were a dirty police officer and I wanted to be able to basically, like, let's say for example, because you got to wonder, why were they so concerned with this guy? They claim about the headphones, but yet it's not in the report as far as I can see. So what if I had some kind of involvement with this guy previously? So I'm a dirty officer and I did something, and this guy is a threat to me. We're driving around, and hey, I'm just making this up off the top of my head. This is not based on any evidence. I'm just saying. So if that is the case, and I see this guy and I want to take him out, but obviously I can't just go, even though I'm a police officer, I can't just go murder somebody. It may seem like that, but I have to make it where, he was struggling or I had threat for my life. How difficult would it be for me to handle this guy in such a manner that it would seem like he's fighting me and end up where I had no choice but to use my weapon? How difficult is it to do that in terms of just knowing tactics, knowing how the body works and stuff like that? If I were a dirty cop and I wanted to pretend, like this guy's resisting, how difficult is it to do that?
Well, again, maybe say anywhere between, say about 15 years and back. It would be easier. But citizens are smarter now. So if I want to make sure this guy, things go south with this guy. All right. So it could be that he says, he told Aguilar, hey, take those headphones off. Aguilar probably flipped him off. Just told him, maybe fuck you, man. Oh, you gonna tell me, an officer of the law, fuck me? Okay, put your hands against your back. Put your hands up upside the wall. No, I ain't doing shit. I ain't doing nothing. Boom, to the ground. Oh shit, he's got a gun. And again, that's just me making it up. So, how do we start this fight? Okay, and I've seen it in a couple of different cities. Hey, you, put your hands up against the wall. No, I ain't doing it. I ain't do shit. Slap you in the mouth, knowing damn well you're gonna put up a fight. Now, if you ever see the movie Training Day,
Yeah.
there's a line in there that's always been used as far as I can know. Maybe it's just New Orleans. I don't know. It's not what happened. It's what you can prove. It's not what happened. It's what you can prove. So, based on my standing in the department, I'm an upstanding guy. Got a couple of medals, blah blah blah, and this guy has a criminal record. So now it's easy for the lawyers to shade him in court. It's easy for you see what I'm saying?
And the public eats that up too.
Exactly.
They say you got another scum off the whatever,
Yeah. So, like I was telling you in an earlier conversation, officers have to enforce the law. They don't have to, cross paths with people just to make them feel good. Hey man, put your hands up against the wall. No, fuck you. Oh, damn. You just disrespect me. So now you're on this gangster level, this street justice level.
Well,
Because, especially street officers, I've been there. I have to make it so that people respect me. Well, in law enforcement, there's respect, but they just want people to fear them. So when citizens start getting smarter, knowing what they can do and what they can say, then it goes back to that Training Day today. It's not what happened, it's what you can prove.
Here's my thing, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I think that the average police officer has sufficient training that if they wanted to, in this kind of scenario where you're on top of a guy, they have sufficient training to know how to inflict pain to the suspect in a manner which, just like how I always use this example, a doctor hits you on the knee with a hammer. It's not your choice to move your leg. You know what I mean? It's you become like a robot, and to me, the officers can do the same thing.
There's something that's used in law enforcement called joint manipulation. There's also called bone joint compression. There's a bunch of different arm locks. I know because I used to teach arm locks. And you get to learn how the body works. Now, again, if you want Aguilar's hands behind his back, say you want his hands behind his back. Well, you don't have to do all of this other stuff. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't want to put his hands out? Hey, applied pain, which there's a bunch of nerves. I want to say like 500 some nerves you can tackle. His hands will come out automatically, unless he's high on drugs.
Well, I don't know the percentage, but he did have marijuana and methamphetamines in his system. But they didn't say the percentage, which was interesting. But he did have some of that in his system.
Yeah. So, okay, so you can't get him down, you can't get his hands or whatever. There's a bunch of other steps to keep this guy alive to make it to prison. There's a bunch of things you can do. One officer can say, hey, okay, stand clear, I'm going to pepper spray you. Maybe I'm not sure if they have a taser or not. Taser will make you act right.
Let me ask you this. You said 22 years in law enforcement for you, right? About just about.
Yes, sir.
How many of well, first of all, have you ever been shot on duty?
No. I've never been shot on duty. I was shot while in the Marines, but not in law
That's
enforcement.
interesting. Um, but the Marines part. But what about have you lost any of your partners in your career? Well, I shouldn't say just lost them, but I mean they were killed by a suspect.
Me personally, no, sir.
So how close do we have to go to get someone that you know as an officer or knew of that was in your department or something like that got killed by a suspect?
Okay, well, one of the main things I remember, and this was before I even got to law enforcement, and it was a different department in my city. A guy broke out of jail and he shot a couple people. Okay, the officer rolls up on him, catches him, hey, get on the ground. The officer puts his gun up, the guy rolls over, pumps two in his chest. And, honestly, they killed the guy. He was killed in custody because he put up a fight. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name, but I'll tell you offline or whatever. But this guy was basically a runt. But if you look at his autopsy report, he was beat to smithereens. But there are certain catchphrases in law enforcement that kind of gives you a little leeway. You know, the reason why I stopped you is that you fit the description of the suspect. I mean, somebody doing an armed robbery dressed like you. Oh, really? The reason why I stopped you is there's a string of armed robberies or burglaries in this area. That's why I stopped you. Oh, really? I was dispatched to a call. Okay, so now you encounter me. Well, I was in fear for my safety and the safety of others. Oh, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. I was in fear of the safety of others and myself. I was in fear of the safety of my partner and myself. So, yes, I know all the little catchphrases that will set up a violent encounter. So, it's, and maybe sometimes I am a little too hard on cops, but again, I was one. All right. And to me, when you have a badge, I don't care if it's federal, state, or municipal, the badge is a symbol of public trust. That means the public trusts you to do the right thing when you're all the time.
I just had a crazy idea.
Shoot.
And let me see what you think about this, because what I was getting at is there's this narrative of how dangerous it is to be a police officer. Now, obviously, you got to qualify that statement. A lot of it depends on what kind of police officer you are and where you are. I mean, clearly, I'm sure there's some police officers that are like let's say you're on a gang task force. I mean, I would never argue that being on a gang task force is potentially dangerous, but the argument is police in general, because the whole thing is a lot of times these shootings happen. It's kind of like oh, it looked like he had a gun, and there's always this, he had a gun, and I got, if that happens to me as a citizen, if I see somebody that has something that looks like a gun and I go kill them, I'm probably gonna go to jail. But yet, we're okay with it when officers do it, because the idea is of how dangerous it is to be an officer. But yet, for example, I did the research, and they say that NYPD, a lot of them go through their entire career never even pulling their guns, which I was shocked. I'm like, really? In New York City, you could go an entire career and never pull your weapon out? Is that shocking to
Yeah.
you?
No, sir, it's not. No, sir, it's not.
That says a lot.
Unless you're like you said, unless you're like one of those crash units, anti-gang units, or something like that, uh, you you probably never draw your weapon. A lot of times it's service calls. A lot of times it's service calls
Domestic
or
disputes.
domestic disputes or warrants or something like that. Well, I won't say warrants, but like domestic disputes. Somebody fell in the middle of the street, traffic accident, something like that. You have maybe 5, maybe 10% of the time, well, a chance, shall I say, that you draw your weapon.
So here's what I was getting at. This is the crazy idea I came up with. So with that in mind, could the reality be that one of the reasons why things like this happen is because being a police officer actually is too safe? Now, follow me with what I'm saying. Let me let you understand what I'm getting at. So if you're doing a job, and this is something that happens in the military as well, but if you're doing a job where you hardly ever draw your weapon, you're hardly ever in these kinds of high risk type of scenarios against gangsters and whatever people who are going to shoot at you, um, and then something like this happens. Like let's say this officer, for example, maybe it's the first time he's ever had to draw his weapon. So what I'm getting at is the lack of experience. You're not accustomed to this. You've never even drawn your weapon, and all of a sudden you're thrown into a situation. And I'm not trying to justify the officer's behavior, but I'm just saying that could maybe be part of it. You don't have the experience of this, and you just kind of you panic and oh no, this guy's gonna shoot me or whatever. As opposed to, let's say a cop who is in a gang task force who deals with this all the time, maybe this wouldn't have happened, assuming he's a good cop, because he's used to it. He's used to handling guys who fight or whatever. This is a day in and day out type of thing. So he's more calm and more, following the training, as opposed to this officer, and I don't know his background, but I'm just saying, could that be something that could actually make things worse, where you don't have a lot of these kind of incidents, so when they happen, you kind of freak out. This is something you train for, but this is real now. Now it's real. Here's a guy. He might have a gun. What do I do? And I mentioned military because with the military, we train and we train and we train and we train and we train, but until there's an actual war, a lot of time you could actually end up being just stationed where you're not really doing anything. You're doing patrols or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then what happens when something really happens? I mean, there's a difference between training and a real life scenario. And if you don't have the background in that, to me, maybe you don't necessarily react the way that. I mean, does that make any sense to you? Like, do you think that is anything or
Well,
no?
actually, it makes perfect sense considering, that could have been that first felony arrest. You know, but again, if you were so-called trained, you would run that repetition over and over and over and over and over again until it's second nature. Because remember, the old Chinese proverb is, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war.
Well,
So maybe it's a session of maybe they didn't sweat enough in peace.
well,
You know,
how much practice do officers, a typical officer, I know different jurisdictions, different rules, but in general, the average police officer in this country, um, what's their training regimen? Are they doing something like every 6 months they have to do something? I mean,
some departments, you do quarterly training. Sometimes you do training every 6 months. I know departments out there that only shoot 50 rounds per year. I know departments that don't practice joint locks or case law. It's just you come in, you may swing the baton a couple times, and okay, yep, he was in training. Go. Some departments, I know that they're right on it. They are actually, hooking and, I won't say hooking and jabbing, but they're training quarterly, sometimes monthly.
so if you were to take a
So
guess,
Mm-hmm.
If you were to take a guess, the average police officer in this country, this is I did use the G word here, so we're not saying this is factual. We'd have to do the research on it. But if you were to take a guess, average police officer in America, would you say that the average police officer in America has been in this kind of scenario in the last 6 months, either in a training exercise scenario or in a real life scenario? So meaning average police officer, have you either actually been in this kind of scenario where you're struggling with a suspect and he may have a gun, or have you been in this scenario where it's a training exercise and the suspect is actually a guy in a body armor thing, the whatever the suits that they wear, is
Mm-hmm.
is that is that the norm, or would a lot of officers not have been in this scenario either in real life or in training in the last 6 months?
Actually, especially nowadays, a lot of officers are using what's called a red man suit, which allows you to, strike as hard as you would on a regular person or use the same amount of force you would as a actual arrest. Uh, it's, I would say it's a pretty new product, but uh, within the last 6 months, I'll say lots of officers use either do it in practice or training, and that's you know the latest trend now.
Okay, so actual tactics like this, they actually have practiced this or should have.
Well, well, actually, handcuffing, yes, handcuffing is just that goes in there with police work 101. Uh, there's a certain way you have to put them on. There's things that you have to do when you handcuff somebody. You know, case in point, double lock them. Uh,
So that they can't go any tighter, right?
exactly, because now you're setting your department up for a lawsuit.
How so?
Uh,
Oh, by
go ahead.
accident. By accident, it could get tighter.
Oh, without double locking? Oh yes. But that officer is responsible for that, not the suspect. So, say an officer puts you in handcuffs but don't double lock them, and you tighten them up, by accident. Well, it's not your fault. It's the officer's fault. Any nerve damage, any muscle damage, that's the officer's fault. Remember, when you encounter a suspect, you're in charge of their welfare, both good and bad. You're in charge of it. You're responsible.
So with that in mind, what are the procedures as far as with your training? And actually, what kind? And I realize you may not want to get into too much of that, but are you able to tell us what kind of work you did? I don't need
Actually,
departments or anything like that, but just the type of work.
I tell you, the type of work I did dealt with terrorism, uh, both instructing and dealing with uh, weapons of mass destruction, uh, active threat, situations like that.
That's cool.
Now,
So
I
one of my
mean,
subscribers is actually Homeland Security.
yeah, I mean, I will say, and I like to tell people this. I'm no whatever the guy's name on 24 or whatever. No, no. It's just that that's what I was trained in. That's what I taught sometimes. That is what I did. So, I'm not like taking down terrorist cells single-handedly and all of that crap. No.
Well,
But yeah.
with your training, what are the procedures? And also mention not just your training, but also the typical training for average law enforcement officer in this country, as far as you know. What are the rules or protocol regarding you? You're dealing with a suspect. They fight or whatever. Maybe they have a gun. You end up using your weapon and firing at the suspect. So how many ever times you fired at the suspect multiple times? Um, what is the protocol in terms of handling that suspect going forward? So they could be dead, about to die, but they're definitely injured for sure, because you've shot at them. What's the protocol at that point? How do you treat a suspect that
Okay.
you've already shot at and is
Well, for
down?
one, if he's down, seriously injured, or I shouldn't say or dead, for one, you approach with caution. All right, you let people know, hey, one suspect down. All right. Uh, if you're by yourself, keep the gun trained on them and wait for backup. Okay. Backup arrives, make the approach cautiously, uh, kick the weapon away, handcuff,
So why do we
and
always
then
see
you
these
can go.
officers on top of these guys? That's one thing that people complain about. They'll be on top of a dead body, their knees on their back and that kind of thing.
No, that I'm really not sure. Maybe it's just to stabilize. Maybe it's just to make sure that he or she or the body doesn't roll over on you and stuff like that. But it could be a bunch of different reasons. Uh, the overall uh, train of thought is, you know, down bodies are handcuffed as well. Because you never know. So there's that element of the unknown. Could he be faking? There's no headshots. There's a bunch of different factors here.
So
But if
unfortunately,
he's down, yeah, make the approach with my backup. Uh, secure his weapon and handcuff.
so obviously based on that, that means that you might have the unfortunate duty of actually handcuffing someone who's already dead, potentially, just for safety reasons.
Yes, it's strictly for safety. And again, I as well as other law enforcement agencies, hey, I totally agree with it. Everybody gets handcuffed.
And it's understood. I mean, just because someone appears to be dead doesn't mean that they actually are. And as long as they're alive, they're a potential threat. So,
Well, pretty much they're considered immobilized. that
but here's it.
doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. I don't know. Like I say, I just if I shot him, hey, I know he's down. I know he's not moving. I'm gonna take that advantage and handcuff him and get him, to the hospital or whatever. Or wait for the medical unit to arrive.
Here's my thing. If he's handcuffed and he's injured and he's down, I don't see the need to be on top of him because he he's handcuffed. So he's handcuffed, and I would hope by protocol you've cleared him that he doesn't have a weapon on him. You've searched him, so you know he doesn't have a weapon at this point. So he has no weapon.
Oh, okay. I see what you're getting at. I totally see what you're getting at. Now, if he's, you shot him and he's bleeding like a stuck pig, okay, you know, it goes case by case. It goes case by case. If he's wiggling because of nerves, you know, that's that could be handled something different. But if he's just clearly down, and I'm gonna handcuff him, yes, I'm gonna search him forward. But if there's no need to kneel on, there's no need to kneel on. And even then, there's a certain way you kneel on people. There's certain things you just don't put your knee on anybody. You don't kneel on the spine. You don't kneel on the neck. That's just again cop 101. You don't kneel on the spine. You don't kneel on the neck.
Because to me, if you're down, I've searched you for weapons, and you're handcuffed, and you're bleeding, I'm gonna step back away from you, because I don't want to exasperate any injuries that you already have. I mean, you're in need of medical
Exactly.
assistance, so
Exactly.
and there's no need for me to be on you because you're not a threat. You know, forget about your injuries. You're handcuffed and you have no weapons. That's really, you know. And then you add to that okay. On top of that, we know you're also injured as well, so you're not in top condition to really do much, especially if you're injured, you know, from gunshot wounds. So to me, I would want to step away from you. I want to keep an eye on you. I'm not going to just be like, oh, he's down, whatever. I'm watching you,
Yeah.
you know, and I have my maybe I have my hey, I'm not a police officer, but I'm just thinking logically. I have my hand on my gun. If anything happens or whatever, I'm ready, but I don't need to be on you is what I'm thinking. I just be ready and be aware and be alert, pay attention to you, pay attention to my surroundings. You know, this guy could be in a gang and then a retaliation type of thing, and that generally doesn't happen, but I mean, it could happen. But I don't need to be on you, and so that's one of the things that I find kind of strange.
Yeah. And there's that element of excitement in violence. I guess excitement. Well, yeah, adrenaline.
Adrenaline, yep.
Yeah, adrenaline in violent encounters. But again, all it takes is you know, and I hate to say it like this, but when I used to teach what's called CQB, close quarters battle, all you have to do, yes, it's a shootout, but remain, I guess, relatively calm. The reason I say that is because when you're calm, you break up that visual and auditory seclusion, as in you don't focus on one thing. So, like, have you ever seen where people say, "Yeah, I saw the gun, and that's all I focused on. I didn't see anything else, or I didn't hear anything else." That's visual and auditory seclusion. You know, that you take the time, you scan the area, and break that phenomenon up. You break that up. You just can't focus on, you know, I won't say you just can't. You have to focus on your whole environment. You know, again, had that would have been in place, you could have said, okay, look, I know I've been shot. Somebody could be around. I would even accept that. Hey, somebody else could be shooting at us. I know I've been hit. I know it's not this dude because I have his hands. I know his hands are right here. It could be somebody upstairs. It could be somebody on the other side of the fence. You see what I'm saying? So it has that is something that you really can't train for.
All right, so let's run through these questions really quick that we kind of missed out on. What are your comments on an armed suspect trying to take a gun of a police officer?
Armed suspect trying to take a gun off of a police officer. The law allows the officer to use deadly force.
No, but my question revolves around the likelihood of that. Like, why would an armed suspect try to take a police officer's gun? Like, what would be his purpose?
Actually, it could be a lot of things. If an armed suspect had wanted to take an officer's gun, it could be anything from a trophy or just want to disrespect the officer, on up to wanting to execute the officer. It could be a lot of different things.
Well, remember, he has his own gun already. So what benefit does it have from getting the officer's gun if he already has one?
Oh, what the?
And the idea being that he's a threat to the officer, because that's the narrative, right? That he's a threat and the officer was afraid of their lives. So if that's the case, then why is he trying to grab the officer's gun? He already has one.
Again, maybe it's just, it could be a lot of different things. I don't want to go to jail, but I don't want to kill this officer. I'm going to fight for my life. I'm going to fight for my freedom. What good would it doing? Not much. It wouldn't be a bit of good to one. You try to take this officer's gun. Maybe it just could be Aguilar was stupid. I have a gun, but I'm gonna go barehanded and try and take you. It could be Aguilar. Maybe you're just stupid. Who knows?
All right, so uh, why would an armed suspect who is prepared to kill a cop, which is what that's it's being presented as that. So let's make that assumption. So if we're making an assumption that he was prepared to kill a cop that day, why would he run from the cops and not fire a single shot? Is that strange to you? An armed suspect who is prepared to end an officer's life, and he doesn't ever fire a shot from his gun. He just runs away and that's it.
Well, one thing is that what the police department is saying that Aguilar was prepared, or is that what Aguilar says he was prepared to do?
Well, that's what the police department is saying because that's justification for for shooting him, right? Because they were afraid that he was going to kill them.
Exactly. So that means if by that train of thought, anybody who has a weapon is prepared to shoot an officer, and so be it. See, again, you know, that's not what Aguilar said, and you're right. He's taking off. He's trying to get the hell out of there. Maybe he just don't want to get into a gun battle. Maybe he had two strikes. It could be a bunch of things. Now, flipping a coin, maybe he's running to get a better, say, an ambush position on the officers. Who knows?
Well, let me ask you this: based on your experience and what you've heard, different incidents and things like that. I'm sure you've heard a lot of stuff as a police officer. The type of suspect that would kill a police officer, that type of person. I know that's a certain type of individual, whether they're on drugs, whether they're they have nothing else to lose, type of thing. Like if they get arrested, they're going away for life, type of thing. Whoever that person is, typically, as a police officer, if you attempt to chase that individual and they have a gun, what are you expecting that chase to look like? Like how would that normally go down? You're chasing someone who is the type of person who will kill an officer. How will that chase normally? Because that's Hollywood and it is real life, right? How does real life work with that?
All right. Actually, there's again a couple of different ways to handle that. That bad guys handle that. If a bad guy has a gun and the officer says, "Hey, 5-0, freeze," and his gun is holstered, and he sees the officer's gun is holstered, boom, he'll try and flatline him right there, just try and get away.
That's what I thought.
Or foot chase ensues, and a guy just throws the gun over the fence somewhere.
Let me ask you this, and then we can't read the guy's mind, but what are your instincts on why someone who's prepared to kill a police officer, why would he choose to run rather than just take the officer out right then and there? What's the thought process?
Well, first of all, I guess that's their regular patrol route. And I'll say it, well, actually, I won't say it. I hate to say it, but if a guy wanted to get a police officer, he could do it easily. He could do it easily. If Aguilar wanted to get him, he could have got him while they're on their routine patrols. So obviously he chose not to. Hey, I'm gonna get the hell out of here. I'm rolling.
Well, what I'm getting at is what is the attitude among very violent, say, gang members and things like that, in terms of, so you're the baddest of the bad, you're some lieutenant in the Crips or the Bloods or something like that, and you're the type of person, like I said, if you get arrested, you're going away for life, so you've got nothing to lose. You're that type of person. Even that type of person, are they likely to be trigger happy with the police, or
Yeah.
So they wouldn't first try to get away. They would just automatically, I hate the police and I'm not trying to go to jail. So they would fire first rather than try to run.
Well, remember, as much as bad guys talk, they really don't want to sit in prison for 10, 15, 20 years.
Exactly.
Nobody does. That's just like people saying, I read a 9 mil, I read a 40 or 45. And I ask them, which would you rather get shot with? But nobody wants this. And I don't care how bad they think they are. The thing is, when it comes down and they have two strikes or they want to be, they're known for violence and all of this stuff, they will. If it's their freedom and killing a police officer is the choices, well, guess what's going to happen?
See, what I'm thinking, and you correct me if I'm wrong, and obviously everyone's different. We're not going to speak for every single criminal here, but my thought process is if I'm that guy, I'm really, unless I'm crazy, you got to account for people that have mentally ill or whatever. I mean, whether this, that's a whole other element. But outside of those guys, even as a person who I'm some big gang member, whatever, I got nothing to lose. I'm still not trying to kill a police officer, even though I may hate them to death or whatever, because I don't want that kind of heat on me. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, me thinking if I'm that character, if I get cornered, I mean, you better believe it's gonna be a gunfight. But to me, that kind of guy, I think, would rather run and try to avoid and get away and evade the police officer rather than fire at them and end up in a gunfight with them and lose and either get shot or end up getting caught. To me, it's like run is a higher priority than to really kill an officer. Do you agree with that assessment?
I'm glad you brought that up, because if you notice, Aguilar is between a fence and looks like to be a wall, and he had to run upstairs or he had to go through the officer. That's his four choices. If he tried to jump that fence, he would have got caught. He ain't going through the wall, and running upstairs takes too long. So why didn't he shoot it out with him if he's cornered? If he wanted to kill a cop, why didn't he shoot it out?
Doesn't take that long to pull a gun out and pull a trigger. I'll say that much.
Huh?
It doesn't take that long to pull a gun out and pull a trigger.
Exactly. So why didn't the officers get shot when he was standing up? He's cornered. So how violent was Aguilar?
Do you agree with that assessment though?
No, I mean, yeah, you're right. If I'm cornered and I'm this violent criminal, I'm prepared to kill a cop, and I'm cornered, why didn't that officer get shot while everybody was standing up?
But are you
cornered?
But are you agreeing that most of these high risk suspects would choose to run first before?
Oh, they're going to try and get away.
Okay.
Yeah,
as opposed to shooting first.
Get away. Again, it depends on the environment. If you got in corner, hey, it could be a good chance that he's going to shoot it out or something like that. But then again, if he's got free streets to run in, hey, take off. It'd probably be easier to run because, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, I don't care what you say. Nobody wants to get shot. So obviously he was riding up the street. He could have ran in any direction. Obviously he knows that area. So you're going to tell me that he cornered himself and then decided to become violent?
And also, how fearful is the average high risk gang member, or whatever you want to call it? How fearful are they of the pain that police departments can bring down on them if they kill an officer. So the whole idea of, the whole department's going to be, knocking on doors, and heads will roll, and who knows, you might not even make it to the jail cell. They may give you some street justice. Like, how much fear do you think these guys have of that kind of thing where, I'm not trying to kill a police, they're not going to admit that, but, in reality, they're not trying to kill a police officer because they don't want that kind of hell on them.
And that's exactly right. And even the mafia, there's certain things they will not do because they know the heat of the law enforcement will come down on them, and they're not prepared for it. Same thing with the street criminals or gangs. There's certain things that they will not do because they know that law enforcement will bring so much heat on them that things are going to get really bad, and they know that they're not prepared for it. They'll probably never admit it, but interview some of these guys. There are certain things they will not do to keep the full force of law enforcement off of them. Yes, they are very fearful of it.
I think that's kind of an obvious thing, because this is the way I look at it. You have I forgot the numbers, but the amount of guns in this country is just mind blowing. I had no idea how bad it was until I shouldn't use the word bad, but how many guns there were in this country. It's like the amount of guns per person. It's crazy. So with that in mind, if there wasn't this fear, I mean, I'm pretty sure we'd be hearing about cops getting shot every single day. How are you going to be driving around in a gang-infested neighborhood in your police car, and the gang members aren't going to be taking you guys out? I mean, come on. I mean, you got a sniper
Exactly.
rifle. I mean, it's not that hard, right? All these tough gangs, we're whatever, we're Crips, whatever, but you don't hear it. You know what I mean? So clearly there is that fear, and again, they're not gonna want to admit this, but clearly the reality is nobody's trying to kill a cop unless you're crazy or you're cornered.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was getting to earlier. If you look at the scene where they're handcuffing Aguilar, he's got four choices: fence or wall, run up the stairs, or going through the cops. He didn't choose it out with a man. So what what makes him dangerous? What makes him why is he this notorious cop killer? Why is he this guy that's known for taking out cops? Or I should say prepared to take out a cop? But you'll never know because he's 10-7.
And how do we know that gun was his gun, by the way?
Exactly.
What's the protocol with that? How do we know after the fact? Like,
Now, I
because
mean, again, I don't know if it's still done. I haven't seen it since, maybe I was a kid. But officers are known. Some officers probably still do carry what's called a throwdown. You know, oh, well, you don't have one. Guess what? You got one now. But it goes back to it's not what happened, it's what you can prove.
But what's the protocol though? So let's say in terms of I don't know, standards of evidence or whatever it is, like how do we as a, I guess the courts or the judge, how do we, based on the report, know for a fact or establish for a fact that was in fact his gun or not? I mean, what's the protocol? I mean, they would check for fingerprints. I mean, how do we establish that as fact or
Well,
not?
there's a lot of ways, especially if they file the serial number off. Well, uh, this guy's got a record, he's carrying a gun with a filed off serial number. Oh, well, there's really no way of tracing that gun. Well, I won't say there is a way, but, it's just like saying, the sky is blue, it'll be blue tomorrow. You know, he's a bad guy. He's got a record. Well, yeah, it's probably him that's carrying around a weapon with no serial number on it. You know, again, they probably based his past behavior or previous experiences dealing with him is why things have happened the way they have happened at that particular moment. You know, because again, law enforcement does have the right to say, you know, based on previous experience with Aguilar, you know, he's violent, this, that, and the other. But even still, I mean, again, I have a hard time with this. He's handcuffed. You're looking at his hands. You know he don't have a gun. Well, you don't. I'm sorry, you don't know he has a gun in his hand. You have control of his hands. Even though they're handcuffed, you have control of them. Or are you supposed to? You gonna tell me two beefy cops can't handle this guy's hand while handcuffed? So then there's a gun on the ground, and this guy ends up getting shot, and then you're struggling with a guy with a weapon in your hand. That's not part of training. I don't care what agency or department you're with. You don't struggle with a guy or handcuff a guy with a weapon in your hand.
Is it that difficult for an officer to take a gun and put it in the suspect's hand so that there's fingerprints on the gun and be able to prove that this was his gun because hey, there's fingerprints on there? I mean, is that
Well,
difficult to do?
well, there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can say, you know, here, take this, see if this is your gun. And if you're not smart enough, you'll catch the gun or pick it up and say, no, that's not my gun. But guess what? I got your prints on it.
But
Or after I deal with you, I can make you put your prints on a gun.
so then
That's
how do we ever know
that's
whether
not an issue.
how do we ever know, like as a citizen, if we want to find out, we're looking at this thing, we're concerned about what happened here with the police, and we want to say, hey, police department, prove to us that this was Aguilar's gun. Like, what is a mechanism for us to be able to figure that out?
Well, now you're asking the police department to basically investigate itself.
So
All right.
there isn't a
So,
standard protocol where there be a report that you could just ask for. Like, standard protocol is you find a gun on a suspect, then you need to determine that it was the suspect's gun. No, that's an investigation. Yeah.
no, you if the gun is on the suspect, okay. Now we got something to work with, but we don't know who the true owner is. He can bought it from Joe Blow around the corner, you know, for a bag of weed. I don't know. Because once nowadays they have the criminal check, you ain't getting a gun. So it came off of the street somewhere. Now, on paper, the owner may show up, but it's probably not Aguilar.
That's the thing. How do you that's you bring up some valid points here. How do you connect the gun to Aguilar? Whether he purchased it, which we know he wouldn't have purchased well legally because he had a record, right? So it would have had to have been illegally purchased. So now you're talking about what, a ghost gun with no serial number, or
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Guns, honestly, you know, guns are like rats in this country. They're everywhere. You don't know where
wow.
they came from. They're just here. You know, like I guarantee you, it's easier for me, or actually any citizen. It's easier for any citizen. You can, even if you're not connected in the hood, you can have somebody in the hood that you know that frequents that. Say, hey man, look, I need a piece. What kind you need? Hey, I need a pogo. All right. Oh, give him $100. you got your shotgun. It's yours.
So
You can get a gun anywhere.
So what's to protect me, the citizen, the average citizen, if an officer tries to plant a gun on me, the gun has no serial number, so therefore there's no verifiable
There,
history on the gun. What's my
there
defense?
is none. There is none. It's not what happened. It's what you can prove as a citizen.
Wow. So then you look at things like motive and all that kind of stuff to try and defend myself.
Exactly. Exactly. So, like, if
Wow.
you know, say you're riding your motorcycle and you cut this officer off. Okay. Hey, what the fuck's your problem? You cut me off, this, that, and the other. Hey, man, look, chill out. Get into a scuffle. All of a sudden, this gun pops up. And you're like, hey, what the fuck? That's not mine. Well, sorry. It's either a regular citizen or this officer with X amount of years experience and no disciplinary problems. And, he's a good officer and everybody's writing statements for him. You're probably going to lose.
Wow. That's a little scary, man.
Yeah, very.
Wow. And then the final question for you. In the beginning of the report, they didn't mention why they pulled him over. We just know about it from what we saw in the media. I think you commented on that before. Like, isn't that bizarre that the police report wouldn't begin with why they were pulling him over?
I give you a generic statement. I mean, like a cookie cutter type opening. Okay, I, Officer Ruiz, while on patrol in the blank, blank, blank district at approximately this time on this date. All right. I observed an individual on a bicycle with headphones on. Statute such and such states that individuals are allowed to ride on bicycles with headphones. As I made approach, I identified myself, and then, so that's your probable cause statement. You see what I'm saying? You just can't go in there and say, we got into it. No, you have to explain why you and the citizen cross paths.
So you find it suspicious that in the police statements, both deputies, they don't mention why they're pulling him over. I mean, I'll read to you what it says. It says, this is a statement from Deputy Murad. It says, Murad and Ruiz were on patrol driving southbound on Long Beach Boulevard when they saw Aguilar riding a bicycle northbound on the east sidewalk. So far, no probable cause. Then it says Aguilar looked in the deputy's direction and accelerated. Is that probable cause?
No. I mean, again, think about it. Based on this, say you were a judge. On this paper, basically it's saying that this guy is dead because he's on the sidewalk with a bicycle and he looked at you and rode a little faster.
Wow.
I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.
How do we even go further beyond that? I mean, if this is what you're beginning with, because it's kind of like, I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like I don't want to hear the rest of your story. I want to focus on, wait a minute, so why did you pull them over? Like, you got to,
exactly.
To me, establish probable cause before you can get into, oh, and he hit me and he ran. Oh, but why were you stopping him? Like, that's the,
Exactly. So again, now it's not probable cause; it's called reasonable suspicion. It's called reasonable suspicion, but I mean, you can't. I mean, hell, you can't do anything with that. That's like, say there's a difference between, say he looked at the officers and accelerated. Hey, okay. Now, probably what happened is they say, well, based on my experience of, 10 years, 5 years, or whatever, usually when people do this, they are up to no good or they just committed a crime or whatever. You know, that may fly. Okay? But the main part is, okay, why is he dead? That's what the court is going to focus on. Why is he dead? What did he do? Obviously, if he accelerated, say he was guilty. If he accelerated, he's trying to get away. Did you see him throw anything down? I mean, because now any law enforcement guy would tell you, if a guy has a gun and it's dirty, he's going to get out of the area. He's going to get rid of that damn gun.
Yeah, that's a serious crime.
You ain't going to catch him with that gun. Sorry. So, again, based on his report, he's riding on the sidewalk. He looked at you. He rode further. He rode faster. And now he's dead. What's wrong with riding faster on the sidewalk? What's wrong with riding faster? What's wrong with looking at you?
Are you allowed to, as a police officer, to chase me just because I ran away from you? So you haven't seen me doing any crime, but you roll up, I look at you, I look away, and then I run. Which, I'm not gonna lie, that does look suspicious. But does the law allow you to chase me just based on that?
Okay, now that's based on, did you get a report of a crime in that area?
Yep.
You know, did you get did somebody say, hey, be advised, be on the lookout for a guy on a bicycle wearing headphones, he just robbed a liquor store?
What if there was a report of a crime, but there's no description that matches this guy? So there is a report that there just was a burglary. No, somebody just got robbed in that area. The description, I don't want to say it doesn't match. Let's just say you don't have a description. It's just a male. That's all you have. I don't know why they just have male, but that's all you have to go on. A guy robbed someone in that area, and then here's a guy, and he's running away from you. So is that enough for you to go on, to go chase him?
Actually, yes. But that only rates stop and question.
Okay.
That rates what's called stop and question. Okay, hey, look. I'm Officer so-and-so. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? The reason I stopped you is because, I got this report, and, it kind of raised suspicion, and I'm just here questioning you. Now, at that time, if that would have went down, you got to satisfy that officer and let him know, hey, look, it ain't me. Who knows?
But again, the odds of that not being in the report, I think, is highly suspicious. Like you
Exactly.
How would that not be in your statement?
You're supposed to put everything in that report. Everything.
Especially something as critical as probable cause, establishing a probable cause. Come on.
Again, that goes back to that's cop 101. That's police work 101.
Well, when these statements were made, would the officer not have his attorney present? Wouldn't that be protocol?
Say again?
And the attorney would know that he so it would be in here.
Exactly.
Wow.
If somebody wanted to, this case could be picked apart like piranha.
Well, what do you think is gonna? Let's end on this note. What do you think is gonna happen? This is just your guess. You don't know. You can't predict the future. But what do you think is gonna happen next with this whole thing?
I'm really looking for it to be swept under the carpet, and it'll go away.
But how would they pull that off?
Just quit talking about it. Because one thing police departments know, there's always a sexy story out there that's going to make your story look stupid. It's going to be old news. And the public is going on and saying, hey, well, I don't want to hear about that no more. Whatever. Let's hear about this new thing. And that's how it gets swept under the carpet. So if you don't say anything, I ain't gonna say anything. Hey, whatever. Hey, just lay low for a while. You know, you'll be what they call it? Shucks. You'll be suspended administrative leave, which is basically a vacation because it's like saying you're suspended with pay. We'll call you and let you know when to come back.
I mean, that is a vacation because you're being paid and then you have your time to do whatever you please. So
Exactly.
you could take a trip. Do they usually restrict you? Can you like you can't leave the town or something or no? There's no restrictions.
Well, sometimes it depends on again how sexy the case is, you know, because this case, what it was last year. Have you seen it on CNN since then? It is constantly being pumped at your local news station.
Ah, it was open. It was open and shut. This guy shot a police officer, so he ended up dead. There's nothing else to talk about it.
Exactly.
And he had a record.
Exactly.
And he had a record. So
Exactly.
that's your bow. That's your bow that you put on top of the thing, and it's all wrapped up nice and neat, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So they know, and again, it's known fact. The media is not going to stick with this forever and ever. They got too much other stuff going on. Okay, now had it been, say like, say somebody prominent, say like The Rock, been arrested like that. Oh, now we're gonna look into this. You know, hey, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you know, he's an upstanding guy. You know, he was killed by police officers. That's going to keep it going because the public is going to want to know, why did you shoot Dwayne The Rock Johnson? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But by it being Mr. Aguilar, he's just a regular Joe Blow citizen. Okay, yeah, we're outraged. Oh, shit, look at this. There's a new story. Yeah, Aguilar, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Let's hear this new stuff. Police officers know, public information officers know that, you know, we as a society, police brutality and stuff like that, it's like breathing. It's like oxygen. It's everywhere. We don't want to hear it no more. Whatever.
Wow. All right, man. So I really appreciate your time on spending with us talking about this and kind of having an open dialogue here. This is a very unique experience because I realize because again I know people in law enforcement and the consequences for speaking are can be very dire. I've heard about people getting you get reassigned. They send you on bogus things like one officer was saying that they'll tell you, hey, stand here and monitor this alley and see if any crimes happen there. So you're spending a whole day patrolling an alley, you know what I mean, or whatever they want you to do, and end your career just because you spoke up. So people wonder where are the good cops. Well, that's one of the reasons why you don't hear from the good cops, because good cops will get silenced.
Oh yeah, and this is true. But again, if I have time, I'd like to let people know all cops aren't bad. There's bad elements everywhere. In law enforcement, in religion, in politics, there's bad everywhere. Most cops get out there, they try to do the good job. So I'm asking everybody who's listening out there, don't take your anger out on the good cops. Take it case by case. Take it case by case. I'm a big fan of cops. I just really don't like the bad ones. And, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, Ritz, I really, really appreciate it. And also your support of the channel, your Fast Life Motorcycle channel. Stay tuned for more motorcycle content coming up. Like we talked about earlier, the MT10 We don't know if that's going to be in America or not, but I will keep you guys updated on that, and also more information about these bikes like the Z1000, which you just bought the 2015, right?
Yes, sir. And then I found out that the 16 has a smoother power delivery, and it's upgraded in certain areas. And I want to get find a video on that, and see if you would test that out for me. Let me get a look at, because I love your channel.
Appreciate it, man.
You and tell 650, keep it up too.
650 Eve. All right, guys. So we're gonna end this stream. Thanks for joining in and sharing your comments, and stay tuned for more. And it's that time of year. It is Christmas Eve, so I will say happy holidays to everyone. I don't know if I'm gonna be posting anything between now and tomorrow. So happy holidays to everyone. Be safe. This is that time of year. Talking about law enforcement. Well, they get a lot of calls this time of year, some bad calls for, drunk driving and this kind of stuff. I always tell you guys, if you can avoid being on the road at night, especially Friday night and Saturday night, that is when a lot of stuff goes down. People lose their lives. So even if you're being smart and not drinking, there's other people out there that are drinking and can, put your life in danger. So if you don't need to be on the road, Friday, Saturday night, these time of year, into New Year's Eve, don't, man, because I guarantee you, just like every year, the body count is gonna be serious. People are gonna, their lives are gonna be shaken up just because, people don't know how to act. They get drunk, they get out there, and it's sad. But I want everyone to be safe this holiday season. All right. All right. Thank you.
Take care out there.
All right. Take it easy.